Remember, you are stronger than you think. Don't believe me? We're about to prove it. Welcome back. This is Jen Lee, creator and host of I Need Blue podcast, True Crime to True Life. As a survivor of armed robbery and abduction, I understand the trauma and triggers survivors experience. Knowing this, and through my powerful podcast, I offer survivors a safe place to share their lived experiences. Survivors need blue to feel they belong, they are loved, understood, and my favorite, empowered. Please note, I Need Blue does contain sensitive topics which could be triggering. Please seek help if needed, and remember, you always come first. I Need Blue episodes can be found on Apple Podcast, Spotify, and many listening platforms, including my website, www.ineedblue.net. There, you will find all the episodes, valuable resources, safety tips, my newly released book and ebook, Why I Survived by Jennifer Lee. And if your passion is to learn to podcast, you will find a Learn to Podcast PDF available as well. I would like to thank Shar Good, the talented violinist who composed and performed this opening music. You can find information about Shar Good on my website. As always, thank you for listening. Let's begin today's episode. My guest today is Dr. Deely, a physician, life coach, and best-selling author. I had the honor of hearing her speak in person at ABWA, American Business Women Association. The topic? Living with Passion. As a physician, wife, mother, and cancer survivor, it made her realize that life is too short. She was going to survive this cancer to begin living and to celebrate life. As I listened, captivated by her story, I knew her message of recovery, self-love, resilience, hope, and breaking patterns would resonate with my audience. This is a true life story you won't want to miss. Dr. Deely, thank you for being my special guest today, and welcome to the I Need Blue podcast.
Thank you. My story can be told in a very long and rambling way, so let me try to make it short. When I was 3 years old, I put on my older sister's school uniform and followed her to the school across the street and sat in a pre-kindergarten room and refused to go home. I loved school. I was passionate about learning. I was the happiest. The teachers had to give up and ask my parents to register me officially. And I ended up staying in a pre-K4 class, or the equivalent of that, 1 year younger, being only 3. Did so well that they promoted me from kindergarten. I skipped first grade to second grade. And then it stopped being fun because a 5-year-old in a classroom designed for 7-year-olds trying to catch up with grammar and division and all the cursive writing back then, all the things that the other kids had been doing for an entire year, I developed this imposter syndrome at age 5 of, oh my gosh, my parents are so proud that I'm such a great student, and I'm a horrible student. It's so hard to understand this class. So I say the beginning of from learning for the sake of joy to learning for external motivators, for the sake of a grade and passing a course and pleasing the parents and the teachers. So after a while, I was able to catch up again, and I became this grades-obsessed person. I tell everybody I am a recovering overachiever. It has been 5 days since the last time I self-flagellated. That's my introduction usually. I went ahead and graduated summa cum laude. I was valedictorian at medical school, but I always kept that imposter syndrome, that I'm only worth something if I am getting the highest possible marks. and the highest possible grades, which doesn't help you after you graduate when there's no longer exams to prove yourself and you are dependent on the approval of bosses or husbands. It's very hard to have a measurement, a concrete measurement that you are doing okay if you haven't learned to give you the inner validation of learning when you are doing okay for the way you feel.
Yeah, you know what was interesting too when you told your story is I'm a middle child. And middle children, I used to be fascinated with birth order books. You know, the oldest child is just the oldest. The youngest is the baby. I had an older brother, so he was the only boy. So that left me as a middle child trying to find my niche. And for me, my niche was my grades. And it would have been devastating if I ever got an F. I mean, I remember I got a D in geography class, Mr. Domsites. Like, I remember the teacher of the year, all of that, because it devastated me. And so I completely get that pressure that I put on myself. You know, my parents didn't put that kind of pressure on me. They expected it because that's what I always delivered. But I completely understand, even at that young age.
Yes, and I'm a middle child too, by the way, so I know what you mean. I reinvented myself already twice in my life. The first time, I was a physician, married to my college sweetheart, first and only man I'd ever dated and kissed and everything. Mother of 4 children, including kids with special needs. But I use the term college sweetheart loosely. It was actually a very painful relationship, not very healthy, with a lot of psychological tinting of misogyny and unhealthy cultural patterns of the Latin American upbringing. And I had to reinvent my entire moral code in order to ask for a divorce, because I came from a very conservative family, a Catholic upbringing. My parents were not only very religious, but also active in their church, teaching couples to avoid divorce. So it was like a family tradition that we valued family and the sacrament of marriage. So for me to accept I am so miserable that I feel cancer cells activating in my body, and this is not the life I want to live, I had to forgive myself for getting my first F in my life. I was an honor student, so I didn't want to fail my marriage, and heal myself enough to get to the point when I could reinvent my moral code. It looked like if I had no hope to ever remarry or find love. But I said, you know what? I never really fell in love. Marrying my ex and started with, hey, I had never dated. I was 19 and this guy asked me out. I never was crazy about him. My mother was diagnosed with cancer when we had just started dating, and I clung to him. And we ended up marrying because it was what was next in the milestones. We were graduating, we were moving to Star Specialties. So I knew, I said, I don't want to die without having known what it is to be head over heels in love and feeling that that person loved me back. There was a part of me that believed in soulmates and in romantic love. I became a student of self-help to heal myself, and I have been interested in personal development since age 17, studying everything possible about how can you reinvent your identity, visualize, clarify what you want, and use the power of your mind to release any obstacles that you have to get to your goals. A lot of my spiritual development started also in between reconciling my forgiving myself for a divorce, heading to finding love. And I met the love of my life, my husband David, who at the time, because he was an eternal bachelor, never married, no children, I said, well, he's going to break my heart. I'm probably going to be completely destroyed, but it's worth it because I'm crazy about this guy. So I started a relationship with him, and to my surprise, he was very quickly clear that he wanted to meet my children, that he wanted to be part of their lives, and we have been married now for almost 9 years, together for 11 plus. He's the best stepfather my children could have ever asked for, and we are extremely happy. And that, I tell him, you were my proof that this is possible. I tell him, I could not have designed someone better for me than you. His qualities. He has overdeveloped all the areas in my life that I am underdeveloped and I need. He's the college professor that's bossy, and he is exactly what I needed to develop my assertiveness and to learn to talk for myself and say no. He was so perfect and such a perfect soulmate for my children that I say, you are the proof that I am connected to God in a more intimate way than I used to believe, that I am actually part of God, because only I could have designed a human being so perfect for me.
That's amazing. I also, like you, have a similar situation where I met my second husband who had never been married, no kids, nothing as well. And I remember staring back saying, why did he pick me? I do think that God absolutely plays a role in the people we meet. I think he controls timing, and when we're ready or when we need that person, they're brought into our life. And I think what you said, I best described as you balance each other out. That's how I look at my husband and I, as we kind of balance each other out. We're very much the same. We have the same birthday, both Scorpios, so you can imagine. I am so happy that you found that and that your children have that, and you are very thankful for it.
Yes, I am. That is why I strongly recommend that if you can do anything to make yourself happier, do it. Because not only that brings you happiness, that raises your bar too. After finding so much happiness in my personal life, I started realizing that my professional life was so not like that. So I started considering, gosh, I am so unhappy in this work. Also getting a little bit of burnout. When I mentioned that my mother died of cancer, that had inspired me to become an oncologist in a not the healthiest way, because I felt the need to grieve her. And every cancer patient I saw would make me cry a little, would make me feel that I had grieved her a little more. That wasn't necessarily the healthiest reason to pursue that career. I thought that my biggest quality that I had to offer was my empathy, because I had come from a family that had faced cancer, that I could empathize and be more loving to the patients and their relatives. But as I found out later on, that was actually a problem, because the oncologists that were long living and successful in their practices had needed to really reduce their empathy, not to let the suffering of the patients affect them. My personality wasn't suited for that career. And exactly as I was starting to plan, what can I do if I can start an alternative type of practice, or like a mind, body, spirit version or alternative version, part of oncology, or leave medicine. When I was debating about that, I was diagnosed with breast cancer. Not only with breast cancer, which as an oncologist, I used to say, those are the cases I like to see because they're curable, and doctors can never have the normal thing. I was diagnosed with a very rare, actually 2 cancers, and one of them was a very rare form of cancer, breast cancer in the skin, that at first appeared like a metastasis, like something that had spread. So that was a huge shaking for a few days, believing, oh my God, I have cancer that is incurable, and I'm going to die sooner than later. We all are, but I'm going to die sooner than I plan. I'm going to die and leave my children orphaned when they are not ready to face the world. Oh my God. And at that time, I tell everybody my biggest epiphany was realizing the best thing I had ever done had been divorcing and meeting my husband. Because if I died now, at least I had achieved that dream, my dream of finding my soulmate, and all those memories we had collected over the years, from trips to Europe, to thousands of sunsets and sunrises, to all the time we spent together. That was the difference between me saying dying young is horrible, it sucks, and me saying, this is devastating. I never got to do anything that I wanted to do in my life. Thank God, knock on wood, it was a false alarm. It wasn't metastatic. I went through everything you can imagine, 4 surgeries, chemo, radiation. But that left me with this conviction. This is not what I want to do the rest of my life. For how long or how short my life, the life that I have left is, I want to make a living spreading love, spreading joy, not fighting death, but celebrating life.
I think that is amazing. You talk about cancer. That is not an easy thing to go through, and that will test your strength and your endurance in itself. How did you get through those times?
Well, the first thing is that everything can have the seed of something good. I believe that no matter how bad, anything that has happened in my life has brought something good with it. In the case of the cancer, I had been for years, 4 decades, being an informal life coach to my patients, giving them tips and supporting them through the treatment and giving them mindset adjustment. And I had to apply all those to me at the time, starting with be in the present moment. From the moment when they give you a diagnosis, and then you have to wait weeks until they finally do a surgery, and you are thinking, oh my gosh, I have a time bomb inside me. I have this cancer spreading cells to God knows where while I'm walking. And any moment one of those cells could spread, dislodge and go somewhere and spread. To you having to say, I am just present in this moment, one breath at a time, one step at a time, savoring this sunset, savoring this beach walk, knowing that whether I panic or not, the calendar will continue to run and the surgery date will arrive. That's one of the biggest things I got from there, being in the moment and separating pain from suffering. Pain is a normal mechanism of defense from the body. You cut yourself, it hurts, so you learn not to go there again. Suffering is the emotional meaning that we put. Suffering is, I cut myself and I'm a victim, or I cut myself because someone was mean to me, or I cut myself and I'm an idiot and I shouldn't have done that. All the emotional self-beating that react to the pain, that is what you don't need in your life. That's what drains your energy. You can be in pain, be in the middle of chemo, feeling nauseous, your whole body aching, feeling fatigue, and you can separate pain from suffering.
Wow, I have never heard that before, but it makes so much sense, and I appreciate you for sharing that. And that is going to be something that I am going to, I actually wrote it down because I'm going to remember that. And I was also thinking when you said be in the present moment, how do you stay in the present moment when we have such a busy, fast-paced outside world? How do you do that?
It's a muscle that you have to develop with practice. We have heard about meditation. It's a very hard Olympic level type of exercise to develop those muscles of presence and awareness. I encourage you to research positive intelligence. My most recent training is from there. And the PQ rep, which is a 10-second to 15-second mini meditation that you do where you focus completely in one sense. For example, rubbing your fingertips together and paying all the attention into the ridges in your fingertips, both fingers. Focusing completely in your breath for 10 seconds or 3 breaths. And every time you do one of those, it's like doing a repetition, lifting weights. And your goal is to strengthen those muscles of being able to rein your attention back.
Wonderful. So I heard you say positive intelligence, and that it's one of your current teachings. So while we're on this topic, please tell us where we can find that information for those who are listening or as in awe as I am at what you just shared. How do they contact you, find that information?
My website is joyfullysuccessful.com. Booking yourself an appointment where you can get a complimentary session to talk to me and answer your questions, give you a perspective, see if we're a good fit to work together. And it's basically a free coaching session that people can get. There's a link directly on my website where people can do that. My email is joyfullysuccessfulcoaching@gmail.com.
Thank you. And I will put all of that information in the show notes as well. Can I ask you, what is it like raising a special needs child?
Well, when I said that everything, quote unquote, bad that has ever happened to me has been good, my daughter is one of the biggest spiritual masters I have ever had. My beautiful, wonderful daughter, she was only like 5 pounds. And she needed reanimation. She had a very low Apgar scores, and we thought we had dodged the bullet, but later on she showed to have developmental delays, needed a feeding tube, developed a seizure disorder, was labeled with autism. That girl, who in the first years of her life was back and forth from the hospital, and we never knew if she was going to survive the next seizure attack, she became my master in unconditional love. I realized that I never forget, and it's on my book, by the way, it's a scene, I don't ever forget, in a stretcher waiting for an MRI with her in my arms when she was like 4 years old, and playing with her with my cell phone, killing time, laughing until they came, was the moment when I realized she is perfect, exactly the way she is. This overachiever, self-flagellator that I was, that I wanted my daughter to be the president or an astronaut and be even more successful than I had been academically, realized I couldn't love her 1 milligram more than I loved her. And that she was perfect exactly the way she was. There was nothing that she needed to change for me to love her. And that was exactly the same way that my higher power or God loved me. That all my efforts to be excellent and successful were just supposed to be for my own fun and my own learning and my own entertainment, because the love had never needed to be purchased or earned.
That's beautiful. Thank you for sharing. We just mentioned your children. So as a parent who's listening, can you give advice to them on how to instill your positive message into children?
Ooh, that's a great topic. I wish we had more time, because that's one of my favorite topics lately. Many of my clients happen to have growing kids or teenage kids. So the number one thing is unconditional love. Your role as a parent, number one before anything, is to tell your child you are okay. The world is going to try to tell your daughter she's too fat. Is going to try to tell your son he's not cool enough. The world is going to try to tell you that if you don't have the last cell phone, or that if you're not in social media and have 1 million followers, there's something wrong with you. So your number one mission is to love them unconditionally and letting them know you are perfectly okay. I call that being a loving mirror that reflects to them the good in them, and also a mirror tells you if you have as much of sauce on your face. As a loving mirror, you also it's your responsibility to tell them if they're not acting well. But you always remember that you are telling them about what they are doing. You're not criticizing who they are. You are giving them feedback about something they are doing. That's number one. And the other one would be to make sure that every moment is an opportunity to teach them values. Define what are the values that you want to pass to your children. My number one, and my children repeat it, is love. What is the number one value? Love. Was your intention loving when you did that? It was? Okay, so then that's okay. Did you do that because you wanted to hurt your sibling? Then it's not okay. So love, respect, self-respect, compassion, kindness. Define what are the values that you want to pass to your children. Hard work, prayer, whatever they are. In every opportunity, and here's even the bad moments, when they have disappointed you, when you say, well, thank you, God. Opportunity to talk about values. We don't do this. Not because, no wasting time on the superficial part. It's not about you spend too much time with your video game. It's about we value family, and family time is sacred. It's not about whether you hit your brother with the shoe or you hit the brother with the notebook. It's about the value of love. we love each other, therefore we don't hurt each other.
Let me ask you this. For people who you talk to that are hopeless, how do you instill hope in them?
That's a very strong and interesting thing, because I believe we all have our target audience. If someone reaches to me or even notices my message, they are not hopeless. Someone who is hopeless is in a dark room, locked. If you're listening, I'm talking to the person listening, if you're listening to this podcast, you're not hopeless. There is a part of you, a little part of you that has never been harmed, that is in direct connection with the divinity. And no matter what bad thing has happened to your body, that part of you is intact and directly connected to the divinity. That part is reaching out and telling you there is hope. So by the time someone reaches out to me, they are already pre-selected to people who are already we have a very high chance of success because they have taken the step of reaching out.
Very powerful. Thank you. I love that. I can actually visualize the example you just gave. I visualize it. Cancer. Are you in remission?
Yes, I had a recent scare, actually. I've been in remission for almost 4 years. I had finished my chemotherapy, everything, and I had started taking life a little bit for granted. I used to tell everybody, I am cured. I'm not in remission. I am cured. And I was shying away from survivor groups, or because I didn't want anybody to put in my mind that cancer existed. And then I felt a lump on my scar and went to have an ultrasound, and they said something looks really ugly there, we need to do a biopsy. And for a few weeks I was really scared. I really thought, oh my God, being a doctor and oncologist, I knew if a cancer came back despite the aggressive treatment I had, 3 surgeries, chemotherapy, radiation, hormone therapy, it had to be a lot more aggressive than we gave it credit for. So I was very close to thinking I'm going to be one of those cases that treatment doesn't even touch them, that this is it, this is the end. Thank God, it was a false alarm, it was a scar tissue. That was a scare I just went through a couple of months ago. And that really revived and strengthened my commitment to, well, if we're living life, like if any day could be the last one, am I where I want to be? Am I doing now exactly what I want to be doing? If not, then I'm in the wrong place. I have to move. And if I die tomorrow, what would be my regrets? My answer at the time was, my regrets would be that I didn't get to talk to more people and spread my message to more people. So my focus in the past few months has been growing my connections, growing my practice, growing my platform. And when you add information there for the listeners, please also add my email list. Right now, when someone goes to this, I'll give you the website. When someone enters their email address, they receive 7 steps to passion, freedom, and purpose, a little inspirational summary of how to reinvent your life, and then they get inspirational messages from me regularly. So I encourage people to join my email list, and I'll give you that link.
Completely understand the wanting to reach more people, as many as you can, with your message and your positivity. What do you find is your most valuable message that you want to share to everyone?
I always say that my motto is, life is short, live with passion. Life is too short to be where you're not exactly, absolutely sure you want to be. The purpose of life is to be you, to be your unique expression of the divinity that only you can be. And if you are not being that, and if you're not feeling that you are being that, then life is passing you by. It's time to reconnect with that. That's my official message. But I know that underneath all that, the biggest message, when I was asking myself this question during my biopsy scare. If I only had a few days to tell something to the world, it would be a message that is borrowed from the Course in Miracles, but is also from Eastern religion everywhere, and also the Bible. The only thing real is love. Anything that is not love is a hallucination of the mortal mind, is fear. If you do only one thing in the rest of your life and you only love, you are going to be okay. Are you loving? Are you loving what you do? Are you loving your life? Are you with someone you love? As long as the answer is yes, you are fine. There's nothing else you need to achieve.
Wonderful. Love and passion. Tell us about your book.
Well, my book is called Bouncing Back, a how-to manual for joy with minimal energy exertion. And I actually wrote it before learning all the new things I learned with my coach trainings. I wrote it based mostly on the teachings I was giving my patients for decades that then I had to apply to myself. When you are in the middle of chemo, you have no energy to do anything. So the minimal energy consumption things that people could do to reboot, to find happiness, to reconnect with joy, even when things are hard going on in their lives.
And that will be in the show notes as well for others to easily find too. What is on the top of your bucket list?
Oh my gosh. If there is an unfulfilled dream that I still have on my list that I'm working toward, is more traveling. My husband and I would check many of my dream places in the past few years through Europe, but COVID came, interrupted the traveling, and I have on my list that I want to go back to Italy, that I want to travel to Thailand and Turkey and Sweden. Those are the ones that I have on top of my list. That Italy, I have been there several times and I love it. I want to go back, but those countries, that's it. And the other one is to see my children ready and for the world by themselves.
Yes.
I'm not ready to leave this planet until I see them settle and all of that. If I am taken away, they will be okay.
Right, absolutely. Where is your most favorite place that you have traveled? Is it Italy?
That is the difficult question, because Italy has gorgeous places, especially Sorrento, Taormina, Sicily. But my favorite place has to be Seville, Spain. That is in what is called Andalusia, the most southern part of Spain. You have Cordoba, Granada, Seville. It's hard to decide between that and Italy, but because that, adding to that the fact that they speak Spanish and I feel so at home when I'm speaking Spanish, I would need to say that makes them win.
Thank you so much, Dr. Deely, for being my guest on the I Need Blue podcast.
Thank you so much for inviting me.
I appreciate your message today. This is Jen Lee with the I Need Blue podcast. You can find all of my episodes on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, all of your favorite podcast platforms, as well as my website, www.ineedblue.net. Please remember, you are stronger than you think.